Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. And I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to the show on iTunes, Podomatic, the show's also, there's archived rather, on Blog Talk Radio. So you can go back there as well and find shows going back almost 7 years. So there's a lot for you to choose from. And if you're on iTunes, of course, you can download instantly. If you're Android, you can use the Podomatic app. So there's many different ways to listen in. So please make sure you tell your friends to check out the show as well. And if you're interested in reading extended bios of the show guests, you can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.blogspot.com. And that's the blog that also was started at the same time as the show. So there's different bios there and articles of interest to women entrepreneurs. And facebook.com/women entrepreneurs. Here's a fan page. And if you want to know more about me and my books, my website is deboraabailey.com. So stop by there and check out different things that I'm doing. And also there's links back to the show and how to become a guest as well. So I hope you'll check all of that out. So today we're going to talk about a very, very good topic for those business owners who really are concerned about funding and how to get things going financially. You know, we have a lot of great ideas, but how can we get them going? How can we get the funding? How can we get the sponsors? That comes up a lot, and people really have tons of questions. So, I have someone here who's going to answer those questions and give you a lot of good information. So, introducing my guest, Kim Harris, and she's the Chief Visionary Officer, I Am Community Consulting and Training. And she's been helping entrepreneurs and small business owners for over 15 years, helping them secure funding resources, establishing capacity building strategies, and raising more than $2.5 million in sponsorships and grants from companies like American Airlines, Office Depot, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Starbucks, and many others. And she's the SBA Women in Business Champion of the Year Award recipient. And she's been featured in many publications, including the Huffington Post, the Dallas Morning News, HERLIFE Magazine, the Chicago Women Magazine, Heart and Soul Magazine, CBS Radio, Radio 1, and her own talk show, Dialogues with Kim, on UA Network. So what we're going to be covering in this show is Kim's 3 surefire strategies for grabbing the attention of sponsors and grant makers. And, what most people miss in their proposal submissions. So please make sure that you take notes and listen very closely. So welcome, Kim. Really glad to have you here.
Oh, I am so excited to share this topic. Thank you, Deborah, for inviting me on. I think it's really important to get this right because a lot of missed opportunities are happening because they're missing out on this information. So I'm glad to be here to share that.
Yes, and I'm glad that you're here too, because this is something that comes up and you hear people talk about it, and you never seem to know the people who have the information about how exactly to go about it.
Right.
It's a topic of discussion, funding and sponsors, but it seems to have the clear answers and experience to say, well, this is what you should do. So, before we really get into the nitty gritty of it, what is the inspiration behind your business?
Basically, I Am Community was an evolved process, if you will, from having my own nonprofit. That was when I was awarded the SBA Women in Business Champion of the Year Award as I was running that organization and helping women who were survivors of domestic violence to create sustainability programs and lifestyle skills. And so out of that passion evolved the platform for me to work with for-profit businesses to partner with nonprofit organizations for sustainable support. And I just have, a real passion for serving other people. And not only serving other people, but I have always come into contact with individuals, women, businessmen, that have great vision for their work and their gifts and their talents. And so I call myself the Chief Visionary Officer because I'm able to really tap into their vision as well and find solutions to getting them there, because we go through challenges as business owners. And while I think, those challenges are a natural progression of growth, I also believe that it's important to have real strategies that will help you to get through those times of growth, those growing pains, if you will. And so I just use my own natural gifts, because if I help you serve, then you serve others, and then the impact is far greater. And that's, I think, what's important, is that we're all making an impact and that our work is significant, but we can't do it alone. We have to have help, and we have to have collaborative partnerships and cause-related partnerships to help us get there. And that's where my expertise has really developed and grown in that area, just because I had to go through it myself,
Right.
Can't speak on something I don't know about, right? So, going through the process of running my own nonprofit and being board of director for, board chair for 7 years, and just going through those growing pains of community agencies that they go through, and understanding that process and understanding all the pieces of the puzzle that are integral to their growth and impact, and understanding what that collaborative space looks like in terms of how to get people or sponsors or, supporters engaged in that cause. And it's no different for nonprofits, than it is for for-profit businesses. And one of the things that I try to educate all of my clients on, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, business is business. And, at the end of the day, you want to see yourselves in the black, right?
Right.
And whether you're operating off of revenues, or you're operating off of excess donations through the year, it doesn't matter, as long as how you're going to expend that into your programs for the following year. And so that's what that's where my real expertise lies, and that's where I help my clients understand the operational side of their business, and to help them to find those holes, as I call them, in the processes, so that they can grow and, get the support they need. So I just have a real passion for service, and that's really the bottom line. That's really the bottom line.
And that is so important as well, to help other people, to do their best or be their best. And, you really have to enjoy the service part of it.
Exactly.
Actually.
Exactly. My tagline for the company is, how may I help you serve, versus, just how may I help you, because I can help you, but if I help you serve, then I'm doing my job, because now you're able to make a greater and stronger impact with your work. And that's really key and important.
That's very true. That's very true. I think it's an excellent approach to have, because so many people in business, I think, traditionally haven't really been looking at it from service. They've just been looking at it as, well, how can I get what I need to get?
Right. Well, and that philosophy may work for a while, but at the end of, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if you're not making an impact, what you have built won't last. There's no legacy there. There's only the instant gratification of getting money now and, enjoying the success now, and there's nothing that's going to be lasting about it. So, yeah, I'm very much a new thought person, so I read a lot of New Thought Leader books and things like that. One of my favorite is Charles F. Hannell's The Master Key System. And in that book, he talks about how success follows service. And so real success comes in the serving of other people. And it's not just, as long as you're serving other people, you're going to always be successful. It's going to always be, there, because it becomes a legacy at that point. And I think that's the key here. I mean, most people that I have worked with and that I work with now, even my current clients, even most of my networks that I'm affiliated with are very much about legacy building. And that's very different than just building a successful company. It goes into the development of generational wealth. And so, that has a little bit of a different spin on it in terms of how you create that and the elements involved in that. And so my work is really integral in helping individuals get to that level, as well as myself, because, this is a legacy that I'm building as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree, because I also have done a lot of reading and New Thought and really like the message and I think it's a breath of fresh air. Actually, compared to a lot of things that are out there, that come across in a way that's not always very positive. So I think it's a very powerful message and empowerment, and also of being, really being a part of I could say the solution. A person's not just sitting there following rules and you do this, you do this, you do this. It's, well, you're a participant in what happens in around you and connected to everything else.
Right.
And that's an approach I'm seeing more of, or more mention of, as I look at various entrepreneurs and what they're saying, and how some of them are going more towards the spiritual, however you want to define that, away from some other things that they may have been saying just a few years ago.
Right.
So I think for some people it is a journey they're taking. For some, they may have realized, that's where things are going. So I need to be there.
Let me jump on this bandwagon, right?
Right. I think it's a little of both going on, but it's interesting, transition to see what's happening and how people are going in this other direction now. So I guess either way, if it's helping people to see things differently, then maybe that's really the best part of it. But when it comes down to writing proposals for funding, what approach do you have in doing this that may be different than some other people are doing?
One of the things that I always make clear when people call me to write grant proposals or sponsorship proposals is that I am not a grant writer. And I make the distinction because a grant writer, albeit they are very good at what they do, they will write you the grant. They simply stop at that point. If I write you a grant, you say, Kim, I want you to write me a grant for a workshop that I'm going to be hosting next year, and I need $20,000. Okay. And I write you that grant. I orchestrate those words very carefully. I give you the best optimum proposal that you can get your hands on, and I give it to you, and I say, okay, Deb, go get that money, right? You're like, okay, now what? Okay? And the difference that I make with my distinction with that grant writer is that that's not enough. That's a part of what's required to get the money. And what I do is I position you to receive that money. The reason there are so many rejections is that not every business that asks for the money is positioned to get the money, but not every grant writer knows how to identify what areas you need to strengthen in your business, in your proposition, in order for you to get that money. And that's where I make my distinction. Because I always say I'm not a grant writer. That's just a service that I provide in conjunction with everything else that I provide you, which is an overview assessment of your business, of your value proposition. I look at it and I say, okay, this is where it needs strengthening. Here are some things that you can add to make it better. Here are some, here's how you can position yourself to receive that money. And when I do that, the chances go way up in terms of you being, considered for that particular grant or sponsorship. Because now you understand what it is in your company that you need to keep at a level of, acceptability from the prospective funder's point of view in order to continue to solicit them for funding in the future. And so there is a process that I have that I take my clients through to assess their positioning, their value proposition, to assess where the holes are in their business, so to speak, and where they can, improve in order to position themselves to get the money that they're looking for. I can't begin to tell you how many clients I have had come to me where their, say for instance, their fiscal responsibilities were not up to par, or their filings were, just in shambles, and that's very, very important. It's one thing to say, okay, I've got this program that I want to operate $450,000 a year, and can you write me a grant to get that? And you in your mind you're thinking you qualify for this grant because it's such a great program. But at the end of the day, when the funder looks at your value proposition, and I say to all nonprofits and for-profits, you need one. When they look at that and they don't see the value in what you're offering, you're not going to get the money, and you don't know how to strengthen that value proposition, and you continue to send the proposal out to different funders who continue to reject you. And so this is where, I think my expertise has really been fine-tuned in the sense that I've gone through this process. I know what they're looking for. I've sat at the tables of the board of directors and grant makers and asked them the question, how do I get your money? What do I need to do to get your money?
There you go. That's pretty direct.
Yeah, I've done that, and we laugh and jest at it. I look at it now and think, my God, I had no professional acumen at that point. I was just trying to get my thing rolling, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that my candor is what really allowed me to get in up front, get in their face and up close and personal with them, to ask them the questions, the difficult questions, because the information is not easily accessible. A lot of what is traditionally done in that space of sponsorship and grant making is very inclusive. What I want to say, exclusive. It's to a few that can get it, and they have certain networks and things. But there are ways that you can manipulate and get around that. But you just need to know how to do that properly and within proper protocol. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I've sat at those tables and those board chairs and said, how do I get your money, because I need this program to go, and this is why. And I asked those questions and I got answers, and I knew exactly what they're looking for, and that's from a for-profit and a nonprofit perspective. So, I educate my clients and I educate them on that process so that they will know, and they can, go out and do it for themselves in the future if they choose. So, yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Because a lot of people, you're saying that, they may think, well, I've got this great program, of course I'm going to get money. But they're not thinking about how am I presenting myself and all these things you have to have lined up before you can really
even get to that point. Okay, yeah. So all the moving parts that happen before the proposal is even written is what's missing. You know, those are the things that are missing in your proposal. And you know, when I look at proposals, because I critique proposals as well, I have a program in which my clients can take a course, and at the end of the course, they're tested along the way, but they are entitled to a free proposal critique once they complete the course. But the course is designed in such a way that you're tested every step of the way. For every benchmark within the course, you're tested on that knowledge. And so at the end, when I get your proposal to critique it, I can tell whether or not you've gone through the whole course. That's what I see. But it's very helpful for them because I look at the proposal and I'm able to tell them, that this is not strong enough. This, how did you come up with this answer? Or, I pick them and I drill them down into their answers until they get to the bare bones of what it is that they're really asking. One of the things that I want to, say that, from my experiences, that funders, whether they're for-profit, non-profit, sponsorships, or grants, it doesn't matter. What they don't appreciate is the fluff. And when I say the fluff, we get excited, right? We get very excited about what we have to offer, and it's all in our heads. It's all in our heads.
Yeah.
But when we are feeding that information to a prospective funder, we must eliminate the fluff and give them only the facts. We've got to do that because it is the facts that they're looking for. It's the facts that will tell the story of the strength of your program or whatever it is that you're offering, okay? So we stick to the facts. What do the facts say? And, I help you to go through how to demonstrate those facts with your proposal and what area of your proposal those facts need to be displayed so that they fall within the sequence of the proposal progression. So there's it's very systematic, the things that I do for my clients, and it helps them to understand there's a process that happens in the reviewing of a proposal from a funding perspective. They go through a process. The first thing, and I wish I could poll your audience because I would ask, what do you think the first thing is that a funder looks at when they get a proposal? What would your answer be?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. I'm wondering, do they look at how long you've been doing this particular business, or whatever you're doing? No.
Duration has nothing to do with the impact of what you're offering them. Okay, that's part of your history, right?
Right.
So you'll put that in there, but that's not the first thing that they look at.
Oh my goodness.
The very first thing that a funder looks at in a proposal package is the executive summary.
Really?
That's it. That's the first thing they look at. Everything else is looked at only after they review that executive summary and feel like that it's worth their time to continue.
Wow. That's interesting.
So all the work that you do really, and here's the thing, the executive summary, for those who don't know, and this is definitely, this is on me. This is on me because I really want you to get this, okay? The executive summary is the first thing that they look at and decide whether or not they're going to continue to review your proposal, but it is the absolute last thing that you do in the proposal process. So it's the last thing that you do in your proposal process as you're preparing your proposal, but it's the first thing that the funder will look at.
Wow. That's very interesting. Because I wouldn't even have picked that, because I would have thought, oh, well, that's just a little piece of whatever, and of course they're going to look at everything else first. That would have been my assumption.
Yeah, no. And the reason is that's why the executive summary is one of the, if not the most important piece of information that you can compile for your proposal package. And basically, I don't recommend an executive summary be more than a page and a half long. Some people have 5-page executive, and it's like, what the heck?
Wow.
This is the whole proposal right here.
Right.
So, no, we shave it all down. But again, that's because individuals who do that are adding all the fluff, the emotion, and all the feelings about what it is that they're trying to do, and all of that. And so when I go through and I extract all that, you are down to probably a page and a half, which is all it needs to be. Now we've given them all the facts to say, yes, this is a great, let me look at the rest of this. Let me look at what their, history is. Let me look at what their process, their value proposition is. Let me look. All of these things now are worthy to be looked at once you've compiled it neatly in your executive summary. So please, that's a big tip. Big tip.
Yes, it is. It is. It's very interesting, too, because, it kind of reminds me of writing, because I write fiction also, and the thing is that you really have to grab the reader in the first paragraph. You don't get a chance to meander through the first chapter, as some people do,
right?
And la through the whole thing, and hope. I'll have people say, well, it starts slow, or I have to try to get into it. And I'm like, unless I really like this writer, I'm not going to try to get into it. If you haven't caught my attention, chances are I'm not even going to continue past that first page. And this ties back to what you're saying. You've got to catch the attention of the person, let them know you mean business right off the top. You can't hope that they'll sit there and read this whole thing, or they'll like you because you've got this great idea and, oh, it's wonderful. You really have to trim back all the stuff that's not necessary and get to the point.
Yeah, and the thing is, most of the time, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes,
and
exactly.
So you think this is what they want to know. They want to know how emotional and attached I am to it. They really don't. They really don't. They really want the facts and the facts only. That I don't know if how I'm kind of giving away my age here, but the show, it was a detective show. He said just the facts.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's probably on one of those oldie channels.
Yeah, it is. But I was actually a watcher of the show, okay?
You don't have to go into detail then. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. However, just the facts, man. Just the facts.
But it's true, though. That's really, you could say that across the board. They just want to know, what are you bringing to the table? Not all this other extra stuff that people just, a lot of times people add because they're not really sure themselves what they bring. They don't really know, and they fill in with a lot of things, hoping that, that will tell the story. But then if you can't really describe it, then you've got a problem right off the bat. But, what type of clients do you work with when you do this kind of thing?
Basically, I look for clients that have programs that they want to run more than one time. For example, a book tour, or someone who's sponsoring a conference that they're going to host every year, or those are the types of things that you can leverage in terms of, how you spread it out in your proposal. Now, from a nonprofit perspective, I look for the program impact. I look for, okay, so if someone comes to me through a nonprofit and say, okay, I have a program that I really want to implement for women entrepreneurs. I want to educate them on different financial investments, for example. This is actually a real client, financial investments. They wanted to host a series of seminars given quarterly. And so we were able to build out their program to demonstrate how many women were they talking about. Now, this is what's interesting to me. When usually when I get individuals that have these ideas about, you know, the type of program or type of event that they want to sponsor or have grants for, they have no idea how many people they want to serve in that environment. So they just know in their head that, again, we got to get out of our head. So, you know, I help them extract that information. And I say, okay, so you want to host financial literacy investment seminars every quarter. How many women are you expecting per event? Most of them don't know. So we have to figure out, well, what does that look like? What does your event look like? Is it going to be in a small venue, a large venue? Are you partnering with others? Or, you know, so I drill down and ask them all the questions that they didn't ask themselves, and we write down those numbers. Then we say, well, how much is it going to cost you for each person to walk into the door? So we do an assessment on how that looks in terms of the number. They got to eat. We're providing them with supplies. We're possibly going to host it just one day, hopefully. If 2-day workshops are a little bit more difficult to get funded. We find out, you know, exactly what that looks like in terms of the numbers, what the costs look like per person, so that we can actually know how much to ask for in our proposal, right? It's not a good idea to just pull numbers out of your head, folks. You can't just pull a number out and say, oh, that sounds good. Okay, yeah, we need about $50,000. Okay, but when I ask you what you need that $50,000 for, I'm looking for you to tell me, well, Kim, this is going to work for 25 women per seminar 4 times a year, including their lunch, their supplies, and maybe a copy of my book and things like this. This is what I'm looking for, right? So that I can itemize these things on your budget to present with your proposal. And so, you know, rather than just guessworking it, we have to actually do some real math. You know, we have to sit down and go through the process of figuring out what those numbers look like. So, you know, my clients range from anyone who just has an idea to someone who has done this before and maybe looking for new sources of funding, maybe want to expand. And this is where the capacity growth strategies come in, you know, to expand their reach, to expand their impact, and we determine in that capacity strategy what the return on investment is going to be for the funder, so that they'll know exactly what to offer in terms of benefits and exchange, you know, value exchange, so that they can leverage your audience and their market, okay, and that they can grow their audience as well. And so I always tell new clients, existing clients, clients that, like I say, have new businesses or new ideas for programs or events that they want to sponsor, is always find out what you have to offer the prospective funder, no matter what it, you know, no matter who they are, no matter how big they are. What are you planning to bring to the table for them? And so, you know, we talk about a little bit about that. Now, I really want to get into that piece of it a little bit, because that's really important. We go to funders oftentimes looking for them to meet our need, right? Because we need their money, right? So we come to them with an attitude of, I need your money, will you help me? Versus, I have a market that is hot right now, and I have a great program that I think would be ideal for you to tap into. Do you see the difference between my going to them and asking them because I need their help versus my going to them and letting them know that I have a way that I can help them reach a market that they've been looking at?
Right.
So there's a difference there, and that's what really holds a lot of people back from getting the money that they don't know how to go with the value. They don't know how to go with the value and then work on learning more about what the value of the funder is. What is it that they're looking for? So I always say, go to that prospect with the idea of learning what their marketing objectives are for the upcoming year, and you just simply ask the question, it's like, well, how do I find that out? You ask the question.
Right, yeah. Right. You have to ask. You're right.
And because they're not going to volunteer the information. But if you ask the question, chances are you will get an answer to that, at least a partial one. They may not give you the whole plan, but at least you'll have something to work with or work from. And in terms of developing, another leg to reach out to them on. So, learn what their marketing objectives are.
And that's an excellent point, because so many people, I'm sure that happens to you too, that will just contact you, perhaps, to be on your show or something of that nature, and they're not really thinking about what you're looking for.
Right.
But they're presenting it in a way that, it's going to be a great opportunity for you to connect with so-and-so or with me to do X. And you don't even know who this person is or what it's about, or why should you even go through everything you'd have to go through to maybe connect them with your audience, because they've never even bothered to figure out who you are,
what you do,
what you want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just acting as though they're doing something for you.
Right. And, this goes back to the point we were talking about earlier, Deb, about the shift that's happening. I think that people are becoming exhausted with the inundation of hype that happens around the internet. And I think that it's really important to be authentic in your, in when you reach out. If you, the thing that I it's interesting when you said that, it's like, people reach out to me all the time. And, at this stage of the game, it's like sometimes I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm just not, okay? I'll just put it out there. It's like, what do you want? Okay, just spill the beans. Just let me know so that I can see if I'm on board with this or not. Exactly. And so, I think that it's really important, to do your homework first to see if there is that authentic connection between purpose and vision. And then, reach out and say, hey, this is, who I am. This is what I do. This is what I have to offer. I would love to, share whatever and, see that if there can be something else that we can build, another possibility that we can build upon. And then I think with that level of authentic outreach, we'll have more of this kind of exchange, and all the hype will fall away, because I just, again, sometimes I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be politically correct. I just want to get through, And I want to, but I want to do my work from an authentic space. You understand? I have turned projects down, and I've turned large contracts down because they did not align with the vision and the mission of why I created my company. And I think sometimes we have to do that in order to really establish ourselves in our own market space and not be just blow whichever way the wind blows, and be the pillar of resource that we need to be for the people that we are here to serve. So, it's important. It's important.
Yeah, I agree, because a lot of times, someone may contact me about being on the blog and maybe they're having a book tour, and the book really has little or nothing to do with women entrepreneurs.
Right. Right.
And it's like, oh, and it's not just put the book there, but it's this and that, and send this out and do that. And I'm like, huh? What are you kidding me? It's all this work, and you don't even really know who this person is.
I know. And that's terrible. I mean,
yeah.
it really is a waste of time.
Yes.
And time is really very, very, very valuable and precious. And if we're here to do anything meaningful, we've got to be very deliberate about how we move through the world with our work. And for me, that's really important. Like I say, I get people all the time calling me and say, oh, I've got this great vision for doing this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And I listen to them, and when I start, like I said, to drill down and ask the real questions, then I can tell almost immediately whether or not this is just an idea you have right now, and it'll dissipate. There's no real passion behind it. And those are the type of projects I don't spend my time on.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm looking to help people who really want to serve a global community, and looking to work with them in such a way that we can collaborate and make a real impact with what we're doing collectively and individually. So, yeah.
So when clients come to you, do they already have an idea of who they want to contact? Do they have the companies and organizations in mind, or do you recommend to them who they should reach out to when it comes to getting grants?
Sometimes they do come with resources already identified. Sometimes they have connections with those resources, and directly, and they just need help with, maybe compiling a proposal that would be appealing to them. And so I will help them with that process. Again, it's about identifying whether or not they are strong enough to receive the money that they ask for. Now, oftentimes, they want more money than they're in a position to receive. And so we'll scale that request back, So if you want $150,000, we might split that into two $75,000 requests. And so this makes it easier and more palatable and digestible for the funder to look at as well. They prefer oftentimes with large requests that the large requests be spread out over a couple of years, sometimes even 3 years, which is great because in that way you can budget that incoming money into your budget for, those programs or events that you have coming up. So that's a actually better way to do it, and rather than versus going to them with one big old lump sum and saying this is what I need for this year. There was a client, a musical company, theater company that I helped to get $250,000 for. They needed one lump sum, but we worked it out to where they could get the amount spread out over 3 years, and it actually worked better for them because then they were able to leverage their relationship with that funder in order to secure more funding from their partners to supplement the money that they didn't get, for the complete amount that they were requesting for that 1 year. So it actually works out. And again, I look at the strategics of the collaborative partnerships that could happen as a result of them being partnered with that particular funder. So oftentimes, if they don't have resources already identified, I go and find resources that I think would be an ideal match. And because I've been doing this for so long, I've got a pretty broad database of funding sources that I tap into to connect with them, because this again is about having your value proposition strong enough to go to them, but it's also helpful to have someone who already has a connection or a link with that particular funding source, because that relationship is already created. And so at that point, what I do is I play the bridge. I bridge that gap between my prospect my client and that funding prospect, and help them to join hands, and then I step out of the way and say, okay, create that relationship now. You guys cultivate that. And sometimes I've had clients that fell through on that part of it, and I think that's a big mistake. Once that relationship is established, I believe that it is a responsibility of that client to maintain that relationship and not rely on me on future requests to continue to, supplement that gap. Because what will happen is, now, this is what's happened with me on several occasions in my own walk here, is that once I established that relationship, there were, like Verizon Wireless was one of our funders many years. The first amount of money that they gave us was $15,000. And then the second year, and because I had a relationship with the community affairs director, and, I continued to cultivate that relationship over years, after 5 years, I mean, literally, the money just came. I didn't even have to ask.
Wow.
I mean, it just was a check in the mail. And, I mean, who doesn't want that, right? You can almost, you can put it in your budget like clockwork. And and so that's the importance of developing those relationships and cultivating them. I'm not saying go out to lunch with them every week or every 2 weeks, give them a call. They're busy people, and they don't have time for that, and neither do you. But what's important is, are you keeping them apprised of the important benchmarks that you have within your journey, and that you're growing, and what milestones have you reached in the last year? I used to send annual reports to all of my funding resources. I would just send them an annual report in December so that they can know what happened during the year, whether or not they funded us. It didn't matter. This is how much we've grown. This is how many people we've helped. This is what we've done. This is what we're looking at in terms of projections for the next year. And those are the types of things that you want to keep them apprised of. And when you do that, you are creating a relationship with them, because now you're at top of mind. When you do submit that proposal for next year or the year after, they know who you are because they've already become familiar with your programs or your events. And so that's really, really key, really key.
Yeah, and I think that's so important for you to know to people that it's a process. And they have to build a relationship, and they have to continue to build a relationship. It's not just a matter of going to someone and saying, give me money.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, that doesn't quite work.
Right.
I can tell you that won't work, okay? Now, what will work is if you go to them and say, how can I get your money, or what can you help me to learn so that I can get you what you need, so that I can get your support, This is again, coming from that space of, I want to learn from you. I'm not coming because I need it right now. I'm just coming because I really want to learn the processes. What are your protocols? I mean, oftentimes people say, well, how do you reach out to a funder, and what do you say? And I've got scripts for that. Okay. So I do offer my clients scripts for different types of calls. And one of the things that on a cold call, if you're not familiar with anyone within this, the funding prospect, and you want to create a new relationship, I've got scripts for how to initiate that contact. And then once that contact is initiated, how to follow up, how to ask the appropriate questions. The mistake a lot of people make in cold calling, hey, I've got this great program, and I really want to know, can I get sponsorship for that? Or can I get a grant for that? And that's just not I can tell you now, you might, if you don't get hung up on, you won't get a conversation with somebody who's of importance in that company. So it's really, really important to follow proper protocol, know what to say on each of the calls, and how to position yourselves with questions that are more from a state of inquiry than it is a state of need. And so there you have to be very careful about that.
Wow, that's really very, very, very helpful for people to know, and how to approach, and the fact that they can get some help into how to approach these funders, because if you don't know how you're going to build these relationships, then automatically you're probably not going to get what you need, because you're floundering and you don't know how to do this. And just hearing that there are ways to approach them and to work with them, it just kind of shows that, you really have to work with people like yourself who know what to do.
That's what I'm here to do, guide you along the process,
Exactly.
help you understand the process. And it is a process, so.
It's certainly, I could certainly see that it is, and it's one that, it takes time to pull together, and you can create those relationships, but just don't expect instant results, as I'm sure many people believe will happen, and some people promise who, really aren't scrupulous. So it's good to hear that, there is a way to do it, but you have to do it in the right way. We're, pretty much at the end. This has been so interesting. I'm like, wow, I could just sit here and listen here. But please let everyone know how they can work with you if they're interested, and how they can contact you, where they can find out more about you and your program.
Excellent. Okay, so if you would like a free ebook on 5 tips to writing a winning proposal, you can go to my website at www.iam-community.com. And I also have a free consultation for new clients or prospective clients. And that consultation, I will give you an overview of what my assessment is of your company and your likelihood of getting funded. I give you an opportunity to share your project or event with me, and then I give you my feedback, and we decide on at that point whether or not we will move forward with a project. But you can go to take that back. You can go to bit.ly, bit.ly/VIP consult. That's bit.ly, bit.ly/VIP consult. And I will give you a free consultation, and we can move from there. I'm also on Facebook. You can look up Kim Harris or MSK Harris on Facebook, Twitter, and G+, Google+. I'm the same across all platforms, so yeah.
Wonderful. This has really been, so informative, so helpful, just to get it, the straight, information and just the facts of what it is you really have to do, and how to get it, and not with, fluff.
Forget the fluff, ladies and gents.
Yes.
Forget the fluff.
Yes.
Stick to the facts.
Yes.
Give me the facts, ma'am. That's it. That's all I want.
That's it. We're glad to hear that, because, people just don't always get the right information.
That's right.
So it's good to hear it from someone who has a track record and can tell you the truth about what it takes for you to achieve this, and not waste your time on a lot of stuff that's not going to get you anywhere. So, this has just been so wonderful and informative. And as we're wrapping up now, is there any final thoughts that you want to share about this?
Well, I would say that, serving others is such an important role, and such a role of responsibility. And really, if you want my help in helping you to serve others, I'm available to you. And there's nothing more important than making an impact with the work that you do. So I'm here to serve as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me, Kim. This has been a terrific show. And as I said, I just have been learning so much sitting here that I wasn't even keeping track of time. Like, oh my goodness, this is great. I'm just listening along myself. So,
Well, great.
I know there's a lot of folks who really are going to benefit from this and are going to reach out to you to find out what they can do and really to get their projects out there and really achieve the things they've been dreaming of. So I want to thank you so much again for joining me for the show. It's been great.
My pleasure.
And everyone, I know you've enjoyed this show. Please tell your friends to check out Women Entrepreneurs Radio on iTunes and Podomatic and also Blog Talk Radio. And you can come to the blog, womenentrepreneurssecrets.blogspot.com. And you can find different links for the shows so that you can, use any link that is good for you, whether it's iTunes or Podomatic. They're all going to be there so that you can find them and, check out all the entrepreneurs who've come and shared their expertise with you. And, it's really good stuff. So please make sure that you share this. If you've enjoyed this show, definitely share it with others that you know who could benefit as well. So once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye now.